A Glen Allen family is in Columbia, South Carolina, grieving the loss of their 21-year-old son.
For those who defend illegal immigration, this case puts their ideals to the test. They often argue that immigrants, regardless of their legal status, are simply seeking a better life. But what happens when one of these individuals causes harm to an American citizen? In this case, Nathaniel Baker was an innocent victim, a young man with a bright future ahead of him, a brother, a son, and a friend. And now, he's gone because of a crime that could have been prevented if the law had been upheld.
Greisa Martinez Rosas, I am an immigrant. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed.
Welcome to Boney's View. My name is Chisom, and this is Chisom's Insight, Episode 3, where we dive deep with no spin, no fluff, just the facts. If you haven't checked out Episodes 1 and 2, be sure to do that after this one. This episode is called From Rally Boasts to Roadside Tragedy, When the System Fails. Today, we're tackling a hot-button issue, illegal immigration, particularly focusing on two explosive stories making headlines. One involves an anti-Trump activist who revealed her undocumented status at a rally, and the other tells the tragic tale of a hit-and-run incident involving an undocumented migrant. These stories spark intense debate, and we're here to break them down and offer an in-depth analysis. So let's get into it. Let's start with the first story. Greisa Martinez Rosas, an anti-Trump activist, made waves when she proudly declared her undocumented status at the Hands Off rally in Washington, D.C. To many, this admission was not only shocking but an act of defiance. As she spoke before a crowd of 10,000 people, she boldly stated, "I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed." Her words ignited outrage across social media, especially among conservative circles.
My name is Greisa Martinez Rosas. I am an immigrant. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed. My name is Greisa Martinez Rosas. I am an immigrant. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed.
Critics of Rosas point out the audacity of an individual who, despite being in the country illegally, publicly denounces a sitting president and his policies. What's more, this rally, part of a series of national protests against Trump's policies, has left many wondering, what message does this send about the rule of law? Should someone in this position be allowed to protest the very country that they are in illegally? In response to Rosas' comments, Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, has received countless calls and social media tags urging him to take action. Should someone in her position be deported? Is this part of a larger trend of illegal immigration being normalized in the media? Let's consider the bigger picture here. It's important to note that the DACA program under Obama gave some protections to undocumented individuals like Rosas. However, DACA's protections are temporary and can be revoked at any time. Many supporters of the policy argue that young immigrants brought here as children should not be punished for the actions of their parents. But in light of Rosas' defiant statements, one has to wonder whether this kind of activism is undermining the efforts to maintain the rule of law. Moving on to the second story, the tragic hit-and-run death of Nathaniel "Nate" Baker, a 21-year-old student at the University of South Carolina.
A Glen Allen family is in Columbia, South Carolina, grieving the loss of their 21-year-old son. Nathaniel Baker, who went by Nate, was struck and killed in a hit-and-run accident Wednesday by someone who wasn't legally allowed to be in the country.
This case has rocked the local community and reignited discussions on illegal immigration, particularly as the driver responsible, Rosali Fernandez-Cruz, was an undocumented migrant from El Salvador with a criminal history. According to a statement in his obituary, Nathaniel "Nate Guy" Baker, 21, of Glen Allen, Virginia, died on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025, in Columbia, South Carolina. Nate was born on March 19th, 2004, in Richmond, Virginia, a son of Daniel Guy Baker and Leslie Yvonne Carroll Baker.
Tributes are pouring in for Nathaniel Nate Baker, the former Deep Run High School student athlete who was recently tragically killed in a hit-and-run accident on the campus of the University of South Carolina.
A memorial full of flowers, photos, and personal items lined the street in Columbia, South Carolina, as friends and family mourn the loss of Nate Baker.
He's probably one of the best guys I've ever met.
Baker was from Glen Allen, a standout lacrosse player at Deep Run High School. He was in his third year as a business major at the University of South Carolina when his life was cut short Wednesday afternoon. He had just celebrated his 21st birthday 2 weeks prior.
The incident took place in front of the university, where Baker was riding his motorcycle. Fernandez-Cruz failed to yield the right-of-way and crashed into Baker's bike, ultimately causing his death. But it gets worse after hitting Baker. Fernandez-Cruz fled the scene, leaving Baker to die while he attempted to escape. He was eventually apprehended by the police, but not before Baker's life was tragically cut short.
Columbia police say Baker was riding a motorcycle when a pickup truck struck him. The driver of that truck fled the scene but was later arrested. Police have charged 24-year-old Rosali Fernandez-Cruz with hit and run resulting in death, among other charges. Columbia police say Fernandez-Cruz is an undocumented immigrant, and their department is coordinating with ICE. A judge denied bond for Fernandez-Cruz on Thursday. The Baker family was in the courtroom at the time.
As investigators looked into Fernandez-Cruz's background, they discovered a chilling detail. He had been previously arrested by Border Patrol officers in Texas back in 2016. Despite being ordered to leave the country by an immigration judge in 2018, Fernandez-Cruz remained in the U.S., living without any legal status. The question then becomes, how many more lives will be lost to individuals like Fernandez-Cruz, who shouldn't even be here in the first place? This isn't just a tragic accident. It's a glaring example of why enforcement of immigration laws matters. Fernandez-Cruz's presence in the U.S. was illegal, and his actions highlight the dangers posed by individuals who are allowed to stay in the country despite not having legal permission to do so. Many argue that this case is a stark reminder of the real-world consequences of lax immigration enforcement.
In a social media post, the Assistant Secretary for the Department of Homeland Security saying Nate would be alive today if it weren't for the hit-and-run driver who was in our country illegally.
For those who defend illegal immigration, this case puts their ideals to the test. They often argue that immigrants, regardless of their legal status, are simply seeking a better life. But what happens when one of these individuals causes harm to an American citizen? In this case, Nathaniel Baker was an innocent victim, a young man with a bright future ahead of him, a brother, a son, and a friend. And now, he's gone because of a crime that could have been prevented if the law had been upheld.
A memorial service is planned in Nate's honor Saturday afternoon at USC's Rutledge Chapel, and then a family friend tells us another service will be held here at a later date.
The heartbreaking loss of Nathaniel Baker is not just a tragedy for his family and friends, but also a call to action. How many more victims will it take before we finally take a stand against illegal immigration and the dangers it brings? For many, this story underscores the need for stronger enforcement of immigration laws and a rethinking of policies that allow individuals like Fernandez-Cruz to slip through the cracks. Remember when Republican Congressman Mike Lawler issued the following statement last year after a report from ICE revealed that there are tens of thousands of illegal immigrants with convictions for sexual assault and homicide convictions loose on American streets. As I have said again and again, sanctuary city policies are putting Americans in danger and getting people killed, said Congressman Lawler. I'm going to continue working with colleagues in both parties to reverse the reckless policies that have led to this catastrophe. It's time for Albany, New York City, and many of my colleagues here in Washington to wake up. However, it's not just about Albany, New York. It's important to understand that the negative impacts of sanctuary city policies aren't confined to the cities that enact them. In fact, the ripple effect of these policies is being felt nationwide. From increased strain on law enforcement and resources to rising crime and safety concerns, the consequences don't stop at city limits. Every American is impacted by these decisions, as the safety and stability of one community can affect the whole nation. It's clear that the policies under the Biden administration, which focus on releasing undocumented migrants and prioritizing only certain criminal cases, aren't working. Under Trump, there was a stronger emphasis on deporting not just criminals, but anyone in the country illegally, especially those who had already been ordered to leave. And this case makes the argument for that policy even stronger. Fernandez-Cruz should have been deported, and Nate Baker should still be alive today.
Late today, the South Carolina Attorney General confirmed Fernandez-Cruz crossed the Mexico border illegally in 2016 as a minor, and he's now wanted by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and will most likely be deported to El Salvador once the criminal process is completed.
In the aftermath of the incident, the University of South Carolina has been mourning the loss of one of their own. Nate Baker wasn't just a student. He was a beloved member of his fraternity, Phi Gamma Delta. His friends and fraternity brothers have described him as someone who would do anything for anyone, always ready to lend a hand. And while his fraternity brothers struggle with the loss, they're honoring his memory by living up to the example he set.
He will literally do anything for you. It's probably the best people that I've ever come across, and we're all lucky to have known him, to have experienced him, and to be friends with him. And just God bless his soul, and his parents and family, all of his friends should be very proud of him and the life that he lived.
Nate's fraternity echoing that sentiment in an Instagram post, saying, "We lost not just a brother, but a leader, a role model. May we honor his memory by living with the same kindness, selflessness, and generosity that he showed to everyone around him."
You know, it's his character, it's his smile, it's everything.
So, where do we stand on these cases? The revelations from Greisa Martinez Rosas and the tragic death of Nathaniel Baker both shine a light on the complicated issue of illegal immigration. While some argue for compassion, others believe that we must enforce the law to protect American citizens. As the debate rages on, one thing is clear: the conversation around immigration is far from over. Thank you for tuning in to Chisom's Insight, Episode 3. If you found this analysis helpful, be sure to like, comment, and share your thoughts on this issue. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a deep dive like this one. This is Chisom, and I'll catch you next time, where we'll continue to unpack the tough issues without the fluff. Stay informed, stay engaged, and never back down from the truth.